Another question that you need to ask yourself is, what kind of people do I want to work with? Because that can have a huge bearing on your own motivation, and it can have a huge bearing on your own self-esteem. And let me kind of try to explain what I mean by that. Again, I had an example of one of my clients she was working in a business that or where people's focus was just basically on a win at all costs. It didn't matter to people within that business who they sort of trod over, or the kind of ethics of the business weren't to her taste, and it really sort of started to have an effect on her own sort of confidence, her own self-esteem, because she just didn't agree with some of the tactics, some of the methods that her colleagues were using. The values weren't aligned. And I think if you're in that situation yourself, you probably maybe underestimate the sort of toll it can take on you on a day-to-day basis. And if you are in that situation, I would urge you to sort of really begin to try to get yourself out of that situation. Because I hear this all too often, via my clients, that they're working in situations that they don't necessarily like, and at the top of that list is probably there's a lack of values alignment between themselves and their teammates. So I think that is a really important, probably one of the things at the top of my own list, actually, because I work within a team at the moment where our focus is on people. It's on helping people to move from where they are, from in some cases, again, feelings of despair, feelings of isolation, of being lost, to bring them through a process where they can begin to think about where and how they can add value to the people that they work with, or to the clients that they work with. But I myself, even me, when I work with people, or when I ask myself that question, what kind of people do I want to work with as my clients? I want to work with people who are motivated, people who are prepared to do the work, people who have an ambition, people who are open to growing, a growth mindset. So I in myself have a sort of a short list, or a sort of a wish list of things that I desire in my ideal client. I don't necessarily take on every client that comes my way, because one of the things that's key for me when I first start working with somebody is that we meet via Skype, or we meet via Zoom or whatever, and we have a conversation to make sure that, or at least begin to understand that we're on a similar page in terms of our values, to begin to understand, and for me to communicate to them my expectations, and also what I have to offer myself in terms of my own sort of support to them. So it's a two-way thing. So you yourself have to have your own wish list in a way, and you might want to write that down. And in fact, I would strongly recommend that you do write that down. What kind of people do you want to work with in your employment, or what kind of clients do you want if you're freelancing, if you have your own business? Because that can have a huge bearing on how sustainable your business is, how sustainable your career is. So don't underestimate that. So it was just really a short and sweet one today, and that was really it. And the question of the day is, and something, as I said, something that you really need to consider is, what kind of people do I want to work with? So go and write that down. Go and think about that in terms of your own values. Do your own values assessment, because that will make it a hell of a lot easier for you to then begin to understand those answers to those questions, or answers to that question.